Hi there. Today marks 5 weeks after my eighth intestinal resection. I have Crohn's disease, and I've had Crohn's disease for 26 years. I actually created this channel many, many years ago to talk about my disease and inflammatory disease and how I handle it, my experience. I'm a health and wellness counselor, as well as a licensed esthetician and a makeup artist. So I created this community of women over 40 where I help them redefine their lives in the season that they're in with wellness, beauty, makeup, skincare. Why? Because feeling beautiful isn't just about outside, it's inside as well. In any case, I have some videos on my Crohn's journey. And I really wanted to talk about this today. So, after 5 weeks of surgery, of having surgery, I honestly thought that recovery was going to look different for me. I expected a different outcome. I thought I'd be walking more. I thought I'd feel a little bit stronger. And thought I was going to feel a bit back to normal, if you will. But instead, I ended up having to go back to the hospital the week before last. I was dehydrated and my kidneys were going into shock of some sort. I don't know the technical term or the medical term, but I had some kidney concerns basically. I just wanted to talk about my experience, how messy, how frustrating it's been, and humbling. I've had many surgeries. This is number 8. So being that I have a little bit more experience with surgeries, I'm well versed in the whole hospitalization. My last 5 years, my issues have been because of strictures, which has been caused with inflammation, but also adhesions from previous surgeries. So, fast forward to this surgery, my expectation was a lot different. I knew this time around that I was going to have a stoma immediately. And what that does, it's an ileostomy. That is where they take a small portion of your small intestine, and they poke a hole through your abdomen and somewhat create a slit in the intestines. And then you have to wear an appliance, which is an ostomy bag, which I have. I knew that there was going to be some downfalls because of being 50 and that my recovery was certainly going to look different than 10 years ago when I was in my 40s and felt much younger. Now I had my expectations built in my head, trying to be realistic at the same time. Because again, I speak about not only advocating for your health, but getting to know your body and really tuning in and listening. Now, I have failed many times, but for the most part, I do a pretty good job at listening to my body. I will say this is one tip that I cannot forget to say. If you are having an operation and you can elect your date, please do Monday through Wednesday if you can. My experience has been if I have a surgery on a Thursday or a Friday, typically you have to stay for recovery. Depending on the type of surgery, you would recover maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. I was expecting to be in the hospital at least 5 days to recover. I mean, my surgery is from the above of my belly button all the way down. So I'm not going to show my bag or anything, but from here all the way down to above my pelvis. That's a huge abdominal surgery. I expected to be there at least 5 days. That has been my experience in the past with 7 other surgeries. So my tip is if you're going to have surgery and you're able to elect surgery date, do Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Because having said that, having a surgery on a Thursday, which I had, led me to having different doctors seeing me during the weekend because my surgeon was not on call that weekend. So I had residents, which is fine. They need to learn. But then the surgeons from that team that my surgeon works with that were on call. And my experience was I'd rather have had my surgeon see me. They discharged me way sooner than I wanted to. Was I moving? Was I doing all of the things that they expect you to do after surgery? Yes, I was. But I was not comfortable to go home. And I voiced that. But because that wasn't a good enough reason, they wanted the bed. I felt like a number. I felt like a dollar sign. And I felt like I was not heard. And that was not a great experience. So when I got home, I was feeling things. And the difference with this surgery, I actually had an epidural, which I've had only one time before. But the epidural was not your typical epidural that you have when you have a baby. This was a little bit lower, or it was at a different spot to where your abdomen is what's numb, not your legs, which I don't like an epidural. I hate having my legs numb. So that was different. And the recovery the first 2 days was actually really good because I wasn't feeling any pain right here. Plus, I'm hooked up to meds. I'm hooked up to IVs. Being sent home on the third day of an abdominal surgery was not expected. So I had surgery Thursday at 4. I was out of surgery at 8 p.m. So the Friday, I was recovering. Saturday, they were talking about sending me home. I was like, what? I was able to push for them not to send me home until Sunday. So got home Sunday, and that was the day they cut me off from IV. Another tip I suggest, what I've had done in the past, they typically unhook you from IV and have you on oral medication for at least a day before they send you home. You can tell I'm getting heated. I'm hearing myself getting heated. But that has been my experience many times in the past. This time, they did not do that. They unhooked me and then they discharged me. On top of that, when the nurse is going over my medication list of what I'm supposed to do at home, I said, wait, they're not sending me home with any pain medication? And the nurse was, no, they're not. At that point, I should have said, hello, can you get the doc on the line? Because I don't agree with that. I didn't. I was still very upset at the fact that they were sending me home. It was very emotional, but nonetheless, neither here nor there. So when I get home, I can't do crap about nothing because now I'm home and it's Sunday. So I had to wait till Monday, spent a very uncomfortable night. Monday at home through Thursday was miserable. I was very uncomfortable. I did get Monday afternoon, I did get prescription for medication for the pain. But then I was having issues with the ostomy, getting acclimated, nauseousness, dizziness, all the stuff. It wasn't until Thursday that I kind of leveled off. So from Thursday on after the surgery, a week in from surgery, okay, I was finally leveling off from that initial pain of your first week of having major surgery. And then the other thing was not having home health. I expected that. It was some kind of miscommunication. The home health that did come one day, she ended up quitting. Nobody told her. Nobody told me. So a week later, I'm like, why haven't I had anybody else come see me? It was a thing. Again, those things I should have prepped before the surgery. I should have had somebody in my family advocate for me, and I didn't. I wasn't prepared for that. Now, moving forward, I expected to have more energy bounce back, but instead, a week after that, my health deteriorated. I wasn't able to walk to the kitchen without getting out of breath or getting dizzy, and it just kept getting down. I called, and then my expectation was when I called, well, actually, we used the portal. When I sent them a message of what I was feeling, I get an entire 6-hour day of going back and forth with the nurse, asking me questions, answering them, respond back, more questions, replying back, I want to go to the hospital. Coming back, more questions. Responding back with the answers. I need to be seen by the doctor. I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, is it me? Is it them? What's going on? Look, I get it. The nurse has certain protocols to take. I got it. Got it. I understood. But why did it have to take an entire day of going back and forth, answering questions before they said at 4 o'clock that afternoon, which was Monday, going into the third week of surgery, for her to say, okay, we've got some appointments. We're going to schedule you for some blood work and IV, because I kept saying, I think I'm dehydrated. I know my body, again, for the most part. I get it wrong sometimes, but need some IV fluids. I need it. Had I been sent with home health, perhaps they would have caught that sooner. But again, I digress. And so they had me for blood work, seeing the doctor, one of the doctors in the team of my surgeon, and getting IV. I was so bad that I couldn't get out of the car. And so I um I was able to get a wheelchair and be escorted by my son's grandmother around the hospital. Got my blood work done. Lo and behold, guess what? When I see the doctor, she asked me, what are my symptoms? I said, I can't walk from here to there without being winded. Feel like I'm going to pass out. I don't have an appetite. I feel weak. She looks at her computer. She looks up to me. She goes back like this in her chair. She goes, I am so sorry to have to tell you this, but I'm glad that you came in. We're going to have to hospitalize you. My numbers were crazy off. And I was going into, I forget what they call it, like not kidney shock, but I was getting into kidney failure. I was severely dehydrated, potassium, sodium, all the magnesiums, all the things were messed up. So again, advocate for your freaking health, which leads me to my other thing. I know I haven't seen a lot of people talk about surgery and the emotional side it takes. Here is already my body going into shock and trying to figure out what the heck happened and trying to readjust, right? I get open in the abdomen, I get intestines cut out, I get reconnected. Now I have a bag which redirects my going to the bathroom. So my body is completely out of whack. And I'm having this intense discouragement constantly. And scared, like frustrated, all the things. I just didn't know that I was going to be so emotional this time. All the other surgeries, yeah, I have fear. Yes, there's been moments of discouragement here and there. But this time around, there was so much more emotion. I don't know if it has to do because I'm postmenopause. I don't know. But it was so frustrating to be not heard, not listened, and going through these things and having to go through more things because I was catching it, but nobody else was catching it. And then just feeling so drained and emotional. And I wasn't like poor me. I was just, I was just so intensely emotional because I'm like, why is it different? This isn't my normal self. Like I thought I would be further along. The expectation wasn't that my surgery was going to be the exact same way my last surgery, because God forbid, I didn't want that either. But there were certain things that I was completely unprepared for. I certainly should have prepared if I would have known right now that I know, even with other surgeries before. Not have a surgery on a Thursday. I'd rather have it earlier in the week so I could spend at least the majority of my recovery during the week where my surgeon, the one who cut me open and sewed me up, is actually coming to see me. And then the other thing is have somebody else in your family also advocate for you. I was so emotional that even though I had said I'm not ready to go home, had I told my husband, he would have done it, right? I should have voiced that. I definitely encourage you to have somebody else in your family or friend group to also advocate for your health if you're not able to do so, or if you're too emotional like I was. And then the other thing is prepare your plan for aftercare. thought I had done that. I knew my family was coming, my sister was coming to help out, my in-laws were coming to help out, my husband had taken time off of work. But one of the things I didn't think about, even though I've had it in the past, I need home health. I need to make sure that, and again, had I also mentioned that to my husband, he would have been able to say, hey, wait, before we discharge her, do we have home health care set up? Right. And I know a lot of that has to do with insurance, which again, freaking sucks. There was no way for me to prepare for certain things, that I expected not to happen and to happen. But I know now. And if I can help anybody out there prepare a little bit better, then that's good. But, you know, this for me was definitely a learning lesson. And um, I will never stop advocating, but also need to have somebody else advocate for me. So definitely do what you can before any surgery, whether it's a minor or a major surgery. Over prep. What's the worst that could happen? You have all of these things A to Z prepped and you don't have to use them. Great, fantastic, wonderful. But if there's any complications before, after, or in between, you have a couple of things in line that can help you out and help you through because it's it's hard to have surgery. Again, whether it's minor or major. I'm just hoping that I have no more complications with dehydration, with my stoma output, because that is where complications right now can arise. I have no complications from my surgery incision. Things are looking good there. Um, I'm keeping true to what they say after recovery, no lifting, no anything. I mean, I'm only walking 2,500 steps right now because that's as much as I can physically do. And then giving myself grace that that's all I can do right now. I'd like to end with something I wrote down. Sometimes healing is becoming someone wiser, slower, and more aware, and more grateful for the small wins. I try not to concentrate on the negative. I've always been a very positive person. So if I was negative today, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to come across that way. I'm very passionate. I'm Latina. So when I speak, sometimes I get really aggressive. I'm passionate about my health, my wellness, feeling good. Um, and so again, I relay what has happened to me so that I can hopefully help somebody out there not go through all of that. You can't control everything and you can't prepare for everything, but there are certain things that you can do that can benefit you at the end. And I will be back with some more updates and more videos, not only about my Crohn's disease and journey, but health and wellness, the things that I'm doing to feel better, things that I'm doing to try to get to the point that I feel a little bit normal. Something like putting on makeup. Everyone's different. That's something that I enjoy doing. When I have energy, I use it to my advantage. And when my body says, not today, Claribel, then I lay down. So I wish you all the best if you're going through surgery, if you've gone through surgery, many well wishes and speedy recovery. Until next time, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.